Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of the Indy Power Rankings. This week is the week of July 15th, 2013. I'm Travis,
I'm Vic.
and this is our show. This is the second edition, like I said, and we're going to go ahead and just explain a quick rundown of what the Indy Power Rankings are. Basically, every week we do a top 10 list of wrestlers, not based on work rate or notoriety, but no, it's based on win loss records, uh, strength of competition, and reputation helps as well. So if you get a Davey Richards or an Eddie Edwards versus, being compared to a guy, from a smaller indie, the guy with the better reputation probably has a better chance. But that being as it may, we've got into everything on last week's edition, so we'll go ahead and start the countdown from number 10. Number 10 this week was Prince Mustafa Ali, and we talked a little bit about him last week, talking about how he was going to wrestle Christian Rose at Dreamwave, which he did, and they actually went to a time limit draw, which is as close as anybody's gotten to beating Prince Mustafa Ali, or Christian Rose for that matter, but because that was Christian Rose's only match, at number 5, he actually fell out this week, and Prince Mustafa Ali gets in because he won 2 matches over the weekend. One being on July 12th, he defeated Carlos Rivera at CSW, and then on July 13th, like I said, he went to a draw against Christian Rose at Dreamwave. And then he capped off the weekend with another win versus Matt Cage at Vanguard Wrestling to go 2-0-1. And it's not just the success he had over the weekend. He's actually been kind of on fire lately. We did get some word that he might have lost a match late June, but it's not one of those matches that too many people have recorded or talked about.
They
So,
don't count.
yeah. And to be honest with you, if we can't find it or we can't find anything about it, it's kind of hard to factor that in. That's what makes this tough sometimes. But anyway, moving on to number 9. It was last week's number 2. Uh, but he actually lost over the weekend. But he had one earlier in the night, so he stuck around just because of his strength of performance lately. It was Biff Busick, aka Frank O'Rourke. He's the Top Rope Promotions heavyweight champion. He beat Craig Costa at Top Rope Promotions on July 13th to continue his winning ways, but later on in the night, after he had won, I think about 10 straight at this point, he was defeated by AR Fox at CZW, which is a place that AR Fox doesn't lose very much in.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever lost there really.
No, not very often. He might have lost to Masada. But
Well,
anyway,
everybody loses to Masada there.
yeah, Busick's looking to turn things around this weekend. He's actually wrestling Eddie Edwards at Beyond Wrestling, which should be a hell of a match. And then he's got a couple other shows as well, as far as I know. And then at number 8, we've actually got our 4th female to ever reach the Indy Power Rankings, and it's and before anybody jumps on our case about this, it's because it's nothing against women's wrestling. They just don't run as many shows, and they don't get as much action as some of the guys get. I mean, these guys are wrestling 3 times a week at times, where the females maybe get 1 or 2 matches tops,
A
and then
month.
yeah, we're talking a month, yeah, but that being the case, this one went above and beyond to get to number 8 this week. It's Rain, the former Peyton Banks from WCW TNA. She's the new Shine champion after she won the one night tournament on July 13th, and in that tournament she beat Lufisto, Jessica Havoc, and Mia Yim to become the champion.
And that's pretty much a who's who's of women's wrestling.
Yep.
I mean, that's 3 big opponents that she beat in one night.
And I'd venture to say that a lot of people didn't expect her to win that tournament. And we've been watching Reign since 2001, maybe?
Something like that.
Somewhere around the
She's
time
come
she
down to
debuted.
Charlestown.
Yep. And so then we move on to a guy that I think we're quite familiar with. We're getting used to saying his name. Number 7 this week's Drake Younger. And I like to call him the West Coast Ultimo Dragon at this point, because he picked up yet another title as he won the IWL Anarchy title versus Ray Rosas on July 12th to go along with his SPW Extreme title and his APW Worldwide Internet titles. And like you were talking about last week, you said you saw him with 3 titles. Well, guess what the third one was? There it is.
There you go.
Yep. and making his first appearance in the Indy Power Rankings. It's a guy that's been on the outside looking in real close for several weeks now, and he finally made his way in, jumped up to number 6. It's somebody that we ranted a little bit about last week, somebody that we told you to look out for. Well, here he is. Number 6 is Reed Bentley. You can call him Reed by God Bentley, or you can call him Cutthroat Reed Bentley. But, if you don't know him by now, like I said, it's time to wake up. He went 3-0 this week for Pro Wrestling Evolution in, I believe that's Clarksville.
Yeah.
He beat Larry D there. And then he went on to Dreamwave Wrestling in, I believe, LaSalle, Illinois. And he defeated Dan Lawrence there. And then he went to Vanguard Wrestling and beat Jervis Cottonbelly, which,
That's a hell of an name.
yeah, it is. So that makes at least, and I say at least because, again, it's hard to find some of these results, that makes at least 4 straight wins for Reed Bentley. And actually, tomorrow night, while we're covering the Indy Power Rankings or covering IWA Mid-South, he'll be in a tag team match. It's going to be him and Trick Davis, everybody's favorite Midwest wrestler, versus Jimmy Jacobson and Zach Gowen from Hatchet 3 fame. That's what we call him anyway. So, at number 5 is the man formerly known as the Prodigy, our favorite wrestler, always has been, or something like that. But regardless, this isn't about bias. He's been on a roll lately. He actually went 3-0 over the weekend, and it's not just that he went 3-0. He went 3-0 at ROH, which you get some of the best competition there. He first he beat B.J. Whitmer, which Whitmer was formerly in the Indy Power Rankings. He's a hell of a wrestler. We've been watching him for years, so that's one. Then he took on Andy Muscant, and he beat him. Never heard of him, I'll be honest. I'm sorry if that's offensive to you. I'm not trying to be. I just don't know you yet, but hopefully someday we will. Yep. And then the same night, he beat Rhino. So, beat a former IWA Mid-South World Champion, and then you beat an ECW World Champion. I mean, and TNA.
That puts you in the list.
Yeah, you're doing all right. So, Bennett, he wrestles Massachusetts area. I don't know that he has any shows this weekend, so he may be ineligible. We'll find out. But speaking of people who may not be around next week, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but number 4 this week is Shane Hollister, and he was somebody that came very close to getting in a couple weeks ago. It was after he beat Michael Elgin to win the AAW heavyweight title after Elgin had a pretty decent run with the title. Anyway, he went into CZW over the weekend, and he took on 5 of the best athletes in the entire indie wrestling world. He beat Caleb Conley, the Dark Sheik, Dave Christ of Ohio's for Killers, Ron Mathis, and Rory Mondo, all in one match. And so that was kind of 2 straight for him, but they were 2 straight huge wins, and they jumped him, like I said, to number 4 because he'd won 4 out of 5 overall, or at least as far as I know. And the reason why I kind of asterisk that is because this week coming up, it's going to be difficult to stick around because last night he actually lost at 3XW, so in Iowa. So we'll see if he sticks around. It does happen. He's going to have to sweep the rest of the weekend, though, I'd say.
Yeah.
So number 3 is actually kind of a surprise to some of you. It's one half of the ROH World Tag Team Champions. No, not Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly has been in the rankings before. It's actually Bobby Fish this time. And the reason why, and I know you might be scratching your head, why not Red Dragon? They successfully defended the tag team titles this week. And the reason why, despite the fact that they've been so high lately, is that their only win was against Roderick Strong and Cheeseburger. So, not exactly a top-level competition. Nothing against Roderick Strong, nothing against Cheeseburger, but it's not exactly proven. So, and it was Night of Hoopla. It wasn't exactly, the level of competition they're used to. But Bobby Fish actually went 3-0 on the weekend. He beat Davey Richards on July 12th. Okay, and a lot of people haven't been beating Davey lately. Davey's actually been pretty good after.
He's kind of on fire.
Yeah, after a slow while there, but he was doing a lot of traveling too. And then he beat ACH on July 13th. So Bobby Fish by himself gets in at number 3 this week, which is I believe his first singles ranking and definitely his highest singles ranking in the Indy Power Rankings. But speaking of tag teams, then we get into number 2. And our only tag team this week is the American Wolves. And the American Wolves get in because, quite frankly, they've just been winning every week. I don't, it's as simple as that. This week, they took on Michael Elgin and Jay Lethal in the main event of one of ROH's shows over the weekend. And despite the fact that Jay Lethal and Michael Elgin aren't um, experienced as a team, that's still two great wrestlers, can beat you anytime, and the Wolves came out on top. So number two is the Wolves, and this actually was a kind of a big debate among us this week. It was whether the Wolves or this guy was number one this week. But in the end, I think the overall strength of competition and the fact that the Wolves kind of had a questionable weekend last weekend in Mexico where the results, nobody's quite sure what happened. Davey said one thing, we heard another. There's things written otherwise, so quite frankly, I just don't know. So at the end of the day, this guy went out, and congratulations to him. Adam Thornstowe is our number one. I believe last week he was number 6.
I think so.
And he jumps to number one this week, and I'm just going to go ahead and read from script here. He is right now the QPW champion, the APW Universal champion, and he's one half of the FSW Tag Team champions, who are Reno Scum. And we also like to call him the other Ultimo Dragon of the West Coast because, like I said, he's racking up title wins. And on July 13th, the tag team of Reno Scum actually put their titles on the line at FSW versus the Suburban Commandos versus the Rock Nest Monsters, Johnny Yuma and Johnny Goodtime from PWG fame and elsewhere, and Paul London and Brian Kendrick. Kind of a team you've heard of, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
They've only
Probably
been
a little bit.
they've been a few places, but they came out on top in that match. You beat 3 of the top tag teams on the West Coast, and guess what? You're getting number one after everything he's done in the last few weeks. And congrats to him. Like I said, yeah, he's been kicking ass and taking names lately. Unfortunately, have bad news regarding him, and he's going to be on the shelf for a little bit. So I guess that kind of, going to number one does have its price to pay. Because you know what? Before he went on the shelf, guess who was number one? Jay Briscoe. And he's on the shelf now. So it's almost like becoming ROH World Champion, something like that.
So
you got to work your way up.
It's kind of like the Madden curse.
Yeah, it's becoming that at this point. John Morrison just took time off, so he was
Sports Illustrated curse.
Yeah, so we've got 2 that are on the shelf right now. Hopefully that doesn't happen too much in the future.
Hopefully that's not our claim to fame.
Yeah, the Wolves have been fine though, so that's the good news, and they've been number one. Ricochet's been fine, other than 0-3 weekend. So yeah, just to let everybody know, our number one from last week, he went to Dragon Gate, where he had won like 9 of 10, something crazy like that, and then he dropped 3 straight. Yeah, so he became number one, and he dropped 3 straight. So better than getting hurt, I suppose. But anyway, so good for Ricochet, and I'm going to let Vic take over and go ahead and give you guys the ones who just missed out this week, and we're giving them the honorable mentions. And take it over.
Right, first we'll go with the major names that were ineligible. You got Jay Briscoe, who he just talked about. He's sidelined. I don't know if you've seen his video, but watch it, look for the collarbone, get disgusted. I do. Eddie Kingston, Brian Cage, and CNC Wrestle Factory as a team. None of them wrestled this past week, so none of them are here. Just missing out, I will probably mispronounce some of these names. It's not, some of the guys I'm familiar with, some I'm not. But we'll go with AR Fox, who has been kind of inactive lately. He did come back and beat Biff Busick at CZW, who was number 2 last week. That was a big win. And he still holds the CZW and Evolve TV, the Evolve title and the CZW Wire TV title. Let's see. Tommaso Ciampa? Ciampa? Sorry, buddy. He makes his return back to the Indy rankings with a pretty good weekend at ROH. He defeated Rhino on the 12th and Silas Young on the 13th. And he is in the title tournament coming up that Jay Briscoe had to forfeit. So he's looking to make his way back into the actual Indy rankings. Matt Tavern is the ROH World TV Champion. He had a solid weekend and went 2-1 in ROH. He had a victory over Eddie Edwards and Adam Cole in a 3-way. And a singles victory over Kevin Steen. which is pretty impressive. I'm sure he'll make his way back in. What's that name? I have no idea.
Johnny Savoy.
Sorry.
And I might have butchered that name, but
Okay.
he actually deserves better than that. Trust me on this one. He's beaten Drake Younger recently. Not over the weekend, but he did defend his title again at IWL.
All right, he is the IWL champion. He racked up some victories. Who did he beat? He defended his title against Eric Krause in 712. So, I mean, the dude's a champion, and like I said, he's beat Drake Younger recently, so, I mean, he's on the rise. And then Papa Don, the Greek god. He went to ECWA on the 13th, and he defeated Vordell Walker. But he also beat, who is this? VSK. Who's that?
He's just an East Coast guy.
Okay. I didn't know. Sorry. He beat VSK later on in the evening to become the new ECWA Unified Champion.
So, yeah, another good weekend for him, for Papa Don. Had he had a little bit more activity over the last few weeks, he probably would have been in this week. But a good weekend for him. There's a lot of shows coming up this weekend. I just want to run through them real quick. It won't take me long. CZW's got a benefit show tonight, July 19th, for Masada. So by the time you see this, it'll probably be over. But hopefully he makes a lot of money to work on his knee, the torn MCL, I believe.
Yeah, and he is actually still working at the moment because, I mean, wrestling's his only job.
Yeah.
He's trying to get the money. I know a lot of people are hating on the fact that he's still working, but he needs the money.
What are you going to do?
I mean, he's got to get the money. They're doing the benefits. They did a Kickstarter type fundraiser on online. I don't know the link right offhand, but I mean, if you can donate anything, I'd do it. I mean, he's a good guy. He busts his ass for the indies, the whole wrestling scene. So that's my rant. Sorry.
It's okay. Also tonight is 2CW. Piper's in the house. We just got to meet him a couple weeks ago.
What up, Piper?
Yep. What's up, Piper? And then tomorrow, 2CW again. Piper will be there again.
What up, Piper?
And I think this is kind of a prime opportunity for Isaacs Ethics to get back into the Indy Power Rankings. He's actually the 2CW champ, holding victories over Eddie Edwards and Kevin Steen. This weekend, he's got title defenses against Dalton Castle and Mike Mondo. He sweeps the weekend. I'm thinking he could be in. And then also, the big one for us tomorrow is IWA Mid-South. It's a local thing, but it's a big thing.
Simply the best 9.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a little extra attention. I apologize if you don't like it. I suppose you can turn it off at this point. But the main event, I believe the main event, just based on how things shape up, is no rope barbed wire match between Ian Rotten and Simon Says. And then there's a tables, ladders, and chairs match, which should be pretty interesting, between Suicide Kid, Nate Webb.
Kid's not going to be there.
Okay, so
They
Kid's
don't have a
hurt.
replacement.
I heard he had gotten hurt, but
yeah, they don't have a replacement.
somebody insane will be there.
The match will happen. It will be a tag TLC match
Versus Mark Wolf and Harry Palmer. And I can tell you right now that I talked to Harry Palmer earlier today, and I asked him to break out. I swear. I asked him to break out the Canadian Bacon Destroyer, and he promised me he would.
He even tagged him in it.
So it should be amazing. And then also, this is the match I think I'm most looking forward to.
Same one as me.
Kyle O'Reilly versus the Necro Butcher. If this is anything like the low-key Necro Butcher match, this match should be off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
Davey Richards versus Scotty Vortex, another good one. I'm not exactly sure what to expect from it. It should be fun. And then we've got Chris Hamrick versus B.J. Whitmer. A 0-1 junior light heavyweight title match. Last week's, I believe, number 3, Jonathan Gresham versus Isaiah.
That should be awesome.
It should be. And fans bring the weapons match. We've got Devin Moore taking on Matt Tremont. And I'd like to see both of these guys just tear the house down. I've seen them do it many times. It's been a while, though. I mean, I've seen them both wrestle, but this is kind of their niche.
This is where they shine.
And I mentioned this earlier, Zach Gowen and Jimmy Jacobs versus Reed Bentley and Trick Davis, which comes from their last show at IWA, kind of a boiling feud there. And then we've got Jack Thriller versus Colin Holmes. Go find Jack Thriller's video leading up to this show. The guy is nuts, but he's awesome.
He's a legit lunatic.
Yep.
And Colin Holmes?
If you watch him in the ring, he's a legit lunatic.
Yeah.
He may not try to hurt himself, but by God, he's trying to kill himself.
He has no regard for his own well-being. He doesn't hurt the people he's with. He just hurts himself.
And then Randy West versus Thunder Kitty in a women's match. And on July 20th, the same day, actually Steel Domain Wrestling returns.
What?
Ace Steel versus Adam Pearce.
No way.
I'm not making it up.
How do I not know that?
Yeah, it's going on.
Ace?
Yeah.
Let's go.
And then also, well, we're going to IWA and we've
Well,
got things to do.
Yeah.
But
We'll
also, tomorrow, CWF Mid Atlantic, and I bring that up because Eric Royal is there, and he's former #1 in the Indy Power Rankings. The guy lost like one match in 2013. PWX is on the 20th as well. That features Kevin Steen versus Jake Manning. It's the Battle of the Pile Driver. And then they've also got Cedric Alexander versus Tommaso Ciampa, Caleb Conley versus Andrew Everett, Chiva Kid. That one should be insane. And then also on Sunday, we got Funky Monkey Wrestling. I thought you'd like that. It's got Matt Cage versus Shane Hollister versus Christian Rose versus Marcus Crane. So, you got two Indie Power Rankings recent guys. And then Dragon Gate has a show in Japan on Sunday as well. And then wrestling is cool. Kingston's back in action. He's actually wrestling Eric Corvus that night. And then Biff Busick, a.k.a. Francis O'Rourke, he's wrestling Lithuanian Snow Troll. And no, I didn't just make that up. No. And he's wrestling the same day, by the way. That same day, again, I told you he's wrestling Eddie Edwards at Beyond Wrestling. Then you've got A.R. Fox versus Anthony Stone, Kevin Steen versus Masada, Colt Cabana versus Jaka. I still hope I'm not butchering that guy's name. And Johnny Gargano versus JT Dunn, among other matches, because they always have it loaded. And by the way, thank you to Beyond Wrestling for plugging us, our show, our power rankings. We appreciate it. I hope you guys have a very successful show on Sunday, drawing tons of people. And I think that's about it this week. Thank you to PW Ponderings. Thank you to PW Scene. Thank you to 911wrestling.com. Thank you to TNA Fan Forum. Thank you for all the wrestlers that have stepped up and liked our page and retweeted us, everything else. Phil Stamper, thank you for the 10 questions. It's a good time.
Thank you to Caleb Wolf for doing our website.
Yep, thank you. And, everybody, thank you for watching the show. So, we'll be back next week. In the meantime, you guys support your local indies. Take care.